giants answered with roars like the grinding of icebergs on a frozen shore, and heaved up their shining axes as the maddened Cimmerian hurled himself upon them. A frosty blade flashed before his eyes, blinding him with its brightness, and he gave back a terrible stroke that sheared through his foe's thigh. With a groan, the victim fell. At an instant, Conan was dashed into the snow, his left shoulder numb from the blow of the survivor, from which the Cimmerian's mail had barely saved his life. Conan saw the remaining giant looming high above him like a colossus carved of ice, etched against the cold, glowing sky. The axe fell to sink through the snow and deep into the frozen earth as Conan hurled himself aside and leaped to his feet. The giant roared and wrenched his axe free, but even as he did, Conan's sword sang down. The giant's knees bent, and he sank slowly into the snow, which turned crimson with the blood that gushed from his half-severed neck.
By the gods of ice and snow, a new dream approaches. Hello, little dream. You are probably not real, but I offer you welcome and polite palaver. You are exiled, as am I. Philosopher giant, some call me. I have been called sophist and fool. I am the outcast, and I no longer have a name. I have seen the hoarfrost glittering in the sun. I have heard the wind whispering across the everlasting snows. But with my mind's eye, I have seen the dark universe yawning. I have seen the black planets that roll without meaning or purpose or name. I apologize, little dream. My kin found my philosophizing tedious, and so they cast me out.
In the Conan universe, frost giants have very little lore outside of my personal favorite Conan story, The Frost Giant's Daughter. Using our usual method of dissection, but this time leaning more towards the original material, we will be exploring the theological implications of frost giants for Ymir worshippers, what exactly they are, and who exactly is the titular frost giant's daughter. The reason we're leaving out Marvel's additional material this time around is that while most of their additions are wonderfully complementary to the Conan universe, thus usable, the Proto-Norse world is where they fall apart. The Aesir and Vanir are actual cultures of humans in the Conan world who would one day inspire the myths of Thor and Odin, not a race of magical godmen, for example. You'll find this video is very theory-heavy as the source material is very limited. Now, let us walk among the fallen dead of the battlefield to fight red-bearded giants near the sky as we begin. If you'd like to see future videos a week early, along with other unique content, go to the subscribe star link in the description box, select any tier to contribute, and sign up as a member of the Grimdark Army. My thanks to the current men and women in service, whose names are seen here. Grimdark. Half off! Ymir is easily my favorite god in Conan, both aesthetically in the Exiles game, as well as in his handshake between the moral teachings of Crom and Mitra in the wider universe. The chief god of the red-haired Vanir people of Vanaheim, and the blonde-haired Aesir people of Asgard, who are locked in ever-growing tribal warfare with each other. His teachings are simple. Never run from battle. Always keep your oaths and follow the laws of your tribe. Offerings to him take the form of those who you slay in battle having their hearts removed and burned in his name. Ymir's titles include both the Frost Giant and Father of Frost Giants. Through their red hair, culture which mimics a primitive form of both Nordheimer cultures, and rituals of burning the hearts of slain men in honor of their aforementioned patriarch, it is fairly obvious that their mother people are the ancient ancestors of the Vanir Nordheimer specifically. As a further extrapolation of this, it can be assumed that Ymir himself comes from an even older sea people, given that Vanaheim is near the coast while Asgard and Hyperborea, where different gods are worshipped, are both further inland. Taking that a bit further, we take things back about 8,000 years to the Thurian Age, and we can assume probably a minor Thulian cult during the Age of Kull was definitely present. And Thule, of course, being the area where later Asgard and Vanaheim would be, as well as Hyperborea. In both the original stories and the games, frost giants are only encountered by those who have had near-death life experiences in the past. This is true for the exile who has a magic band placed around his wrist which regrows his body when slain. The Age of Conan protagonist dies right after character creation, being summoned back to life by a demonic curse placed on them that they must break away from through their first 16 levels of their story. And Conan himself encountered them in a near-death state after surviving a long battle with Nordheimer tribesmen. In the original story, the entire encounter with frost giants is trans-dimensional in nature, leaving no evidence behind as Conan's body was taken to be nursed back to health. The average ones stand anywhere between 12 to 18 feet tall, but don't seem to stop growing as they age. In Age of Conan, we encounter one in a temple that can be estimated to be around 32 feet in height, given its comparison to the other characters. The larger they get, the more they resemble Ymir, with the shortest being around 10 to 12 feet when young, resembling a large bearded veneer man. Afterwards, as they age, they begin to grow tusks in some cases. Their skin turns blue, and their hair turns white. As best we can tell, all frost giants are male, as the only known female child of Ymir is Atali, who we will get into in the next section. It's best to consider them supernatural in nature, materializing only when they need to hunt, also fight due to their culture, or bypassing the necessity for materialization altogether. You can simply be someone who has experienced a near-death life experience, probably on a battlefield or on some form of ship, something near an area where they would be manifesting, and you can observe them for yourself. And of course, for plot reasons, both video game characters have had this happen to them, and of course, this is how Conan meets the woman Atali, who we will go over in the next section, who leads him across the snow into, and this is the most beautiful part of the story too, he chases her after nearly dying in battle, and he still has this energy in him, and he's chasing and chasing and chasing. Already we're very spiritual, we're already in a very spiritual place, and then finally he ends up near the frost giants, which is a big deal. This shape-shifting aspect can also take another direction, which would explain the occasional polar bear or ice bear manifestation of the frost giants. So while some may turn into the archetypal Ymir image, others will inevitably manifest as great bears. The view of them as spirits is compounded in legitimacy by the fact that they are, to the best of our knowledge, all male. While their initial creation seems to be one of outward mating, the possibility of reincarnation for those true loyal followers of Ymir as one possible interpretation of their view of going to Valhalla after death, being able to fight for all eternity while paying tribute to their father god in the form of sacrificing the hearts of the slain, is very possible. This would explain the special favor Atali has over the frost giants, who are something like guardian spirits or archangels to Ymir's Yahweh, with ice wraiths filling the role of demons in this simile. Reincarnation has been a stated part of the Conan universe even in its precursors, with one possible incarnation of Conan being a disabled man in the early 1900s Texas, having visions of the past. When a frost giant is killed, given their unique form, it is likely that they merely return to a spiritual form until they once again find the strength to manifest. Atali has gone down in legend among the Aesir and Vanir people as a temptress that leads men to death. This is also how Conan encounters her. She's the only female descendant of the line of Ymir, with a distinct head of half-blonde, half-red hair split evenly across right and left. Her skin is pure white and ice cold. Given her half-blonde hair, her ancestry is likely Asgardian. Unlike her frost giant cousins, who she considers to be her brothers in relation, possessing the similar trans-dimensional biology, she has personal favor with Ymir, who will save her should she ever be in danger. Other than this, little is known about the mysterious figure, save for the fact that she was almost the sexual conquest of Conan himself. In a slightly altered timeline, it is very possible that Conan would not just be a king, but a god of frost giants, taking Atali as his bride. That, or fulfilling the prophecy of Odin in Norse mythology by slaying Ymir. Atali is also the reason we know that frost giants are not demigods themselves, as they do not receive this same aid when in danger. From the circumstances of the outcast in Conan being sent away from his tribe, the nature of Ymir worship and militant metal forging gives us a good understanding of how these beings spend their eternity. Frost giants possess an extreme focus on practicality, frowning upon any in-depth philosophy, retrospective, or existential concepts. They would hate this channel. It is for the outcast's fixation on these things that his tribe cast him out. This lends more credence to the idea of it being a rewarded afterlife that is the reality that Valhalla is a metaphor for. If you look at the text of the original story, you'll see that Atali doesn't speak of eating Conan alive, but rather she specifies sacrificing his heart, implying no actual need to cook despite the capability to do so. And actually, as a brief side note, Jotun actually translates to anti-god in some translations of Norse mythology. So what we're looking at here is possibly similar to the belief of the reincarnation of a great man as a Henad or Skyfather in Hellenism, the Greek mythology, but taken into a Norse context or a Proto-Norse fictional context in this regard. So the idea that you could do such great things as a follower of Ymir in life, that you could go and then die in battle, eventually reincarnating as a thing that could fight for eternity or a frost giant. And as you age as a frost giant, you'll gain more power, similar to wraiths in World of Darkness. This brings us to the subject of metal forging. We know from Conan Exiles that more advanced worshippers of Ymir are able to craft weapons and armor from black ice, which is born in part from Ymir-blessed ice that takes on a living quality to it. From this, as well as the traditional weapons we can see frost giants depicted with, we can also assume this to be true for more advanced members of his children. Much like Conan himself, it's not that these large individuals possess a lower base or fluid IQ, meaning the rate at which we learn and extrapolate information, but more that their culture rejects using it at all costs. If they are willing to go so far as to exile someone for thinking too much, then they clearly view excessive contemplation not just as bad, but as taboo. Now, a good theological reason for this would be that they have been rewarded in the afterlife, possibly with memories of their human life, as being this frost giant creature that is spiritual and powerful and lives to honor Ymir in combat, and to have this kind of existential, philosophical, especially nihilistic, which is what we see from the Outcast. He is a nihilist, he is very much an Azathoth worshiper, which is somewhat hinted at in the game, is definitely enough to get you cast out, because wouldn't that be the ultimate forsaking of this gift of Ymir? Wouldn't that be? Because you're here to fight, you're here to serve, you're here to be a great and powerful soldier of Ymir, effectively an angel of Ymir to some degree. So that would make a lot of sense as to why the Outcast is Outcast. If you want to break the taboo of having quality miniatures at an affordable price, then you'll need today's sponsor, Ronin Kraft. Ronin Kraft is an independent 3D model printing service with an excellent customer review score on Etsy. Specializing in both fantasy and sci-fi, Ronin is your one-stop shop for all your weird fiction needs. Because with Ronin Kraft, you'll get quality that surpasses any master. In conclusion, frost giants are the supernatural warrior spirits of Ymir that live to honor him by fighting in battle after battle. If you're interested in a more Lovecraftian take on what a frost giant might be like, be sure to check out our All Ape Men in Conan video, where the Yeti-like Great Old One Ithaqua has his own honorary section. Thank you all for watching, and have a lovely day.